Kevin Williams and Bob Batters, time to take a look at the Thanksgiving Eve and Thanksgiving Day football games. Sort of a dying art here around the Shore Conference, but one's filled with tradition. And Bob, it is a strange, we don't call it a weekend, it's a strange couple of days or a strange 36 hours. And before we get into some of the games specifically, less and less just about each year with Thanksgiving Day football, more and more schools opting to play those games somewhere else in the season. Does that trend continue in the future?
I think it may. The main push behind that is a lot of schools around the state are part of the push to get us to play to group champions in football. And to do that, you need some extra time. You need to use the Thanksgiving week as a playoff week, start the season a little earlier. So that's one of the reasons. And a lot of these teams, they don't like having to play Thanksgiving Day game when you potentially have a state championship game the next day. And that's kind of been one of the main arguments around getting rid of it. So, right, we have a little more than a handful of these games still going on. And only a couple of them you would look at and say, okay, big traditional games, I get it. So I think we could see a lot of these games that are left at least moving on and playing in the regular season.
Well, let's segue with you said there are two teams who are playing in state finals the following weekend that are now playing a regular season game or what we'll call a short week. We'll start with the Wednesday night. Real short week for Long Branch. They visit Red Bank. On paper, obviously, the Green Wave a huge favorite, but again, they have a lot to play for. They want to stay healthy. Red Bank, nothing to play for except maybe pull off a great upset.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that teams playing the state championship worry about in a game like this. You have the Green Wave, an 8-2 team that will be playing in the Central Jersey Group 4 final against Freehold on Saturday, December 2nd. Red Bank 1-8. Their only win came in a consolation game last week to a winless Neptune team. So it's certainly two teams on the opposite ends of the spectrum. This is one of those important games, though. Long Branch and Red Bank have been playing for a long time. They played for the Ty Lewis Trophy, of course, after the the famous coach and Danny George, who coached under Ty Lewis. This game means a lot to him. Danny, the Long Branch head coach. So that is one of those games that's an important one. It has a lot of tradition. Long Branch, obviously, the big favorite in that. And as you said, Kevin, just stay healthy, get the win, get through the game, move on, and turn your attention to the state championship.
And on Thanksgiving Day, same situation for Rumson at home against Shore Regional. Of course, we know the Bulldogs story going for a 5th straight sectional championship. But here's a neighborhood rival. They got to get past them first. Mark Costantino will have the Blue Devils ready to play.
And it's not a given. The Devil Dog Ball, as they call it now, 3 straight wins for sure in this one. So you talk about Rumson. They've won 4 straight state titles. But Shore's beat them, 3 years in a row on Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Eve, as the game has been played a few times. So you're right. Shore's going to be geared up for this one. The last couple years, though, Shore has been a team that's been, in the playoffs and big time winning record or in a state championship game or winning one itself. This year, a little different for the Blue Devils. They made it to the Central Group 1 playoffs, lost in the first round. Their record, under 500, so they're trying to get back and even the record here. Rumson the big favorite, and certainly when you have Peter Lucas, who's got 2,100 rushing yards, 2,110 to be exact, school record, for a single season, breaking that of Charlie Volker's 30 touchdowns. He's one of the best running backs in the state. So what they're going to try to do is give him the ball early, try to build a big lead, then take the starters out and coast there. But you never know. I've been to this game a couple times, and the team you think is going to win has not. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is a fight to the end there. We'll see how Rumson plays that with the championship game looming.
A tradition like no other. The Jersey Mike's Game of the Week takes us to Wall, Manasquan and Wall, a game we've been broadcasting for many years on 1160 and 1310 AM. These two teams stinging from painful state losses on Friday night, but I don't think either coaching staff will have trouble getting them up for this one.
This is the unique game when we talk about the Thanksgiving rivalries in the Shore Conference. And the ones that still mean something, Manasquan versus Wall, is at the top of the list. And as you said, both these teams coming off losses in their respective semifinal games last week. Manasquan 27-6, lost to Point Borough in the Central Jersey Group 2 semifinals. And Wall hung around with Rumson, but ultimately fell 28-13. So now they have a chance to end their seasons with a win. Obviously, that's important, even more important for the seniors who, Thanksgiving, Wall versus Manasquan, you end it with a win, you feel pretty good about things, and maybe even the thoughts of your entire high school career are different than ending it on a loss. So a lot at stake. It's going to be a packed house. if you go, buy a 50-50 ticket, because if you win it, you're in real good shape for a month or two. And yeah, it's always a great atmosphere. We'll have that game as our Jersey Mike's game of the week. I'll be there as well. It's going to be fun. It's going to have passion. That game will be played like a playoff game. Last year was awesome because we had two of those teams playing in state finals, and it was really an intense game. You don't have that same, the same things riding in the following week, but I expect this to be an intense game and a game that's going to be pretty fun to take in.
The granddaddy of the games in terms of longevity for a lot of people is Toms River South and Lakewood. It's the 99th meeting. The Piners will host this one. They lost in the playoffs last week. Toms River South's been waiting a couple of weeks to play this one. I don't know who this game means a lot to, but they still play it.
They do, and 99 meetings. That's it's the longest in the shore. It's one of the longest in the state of New Jersey. So, that definitely means something. Lakewood lost last week on the road to Woodrow Wilson, 46-25, to end their season. As you mentioned, Toms River South, they've really probably been looking forward to this game since the loss to Southern really mathematically eliminated them from playoff contention. So you're talking maybe about 3 weeks now where the Indians have really been able to gear up for this game. They had a consolation game, which they're prepared for, but they're thinking, okay, we got Lakewood on Turkey Day. Let's try to close our season with a win there. Same thing for the Piners. This is a game that has really come down to the wire the last couple years with some crazy games and some crazy endings. Lakewood is certainly the better team, in terms of record and everything they've accomplished this year. They have some really dynamic players, the twins, Zaire and Jair Jones, Josh Lezen. But again, Thanksgiving, along with the consolation games, Thanksgiving is the week where you see the scores that tend to not make any sense and defy conventional wisdom. So I think this is going to be a very good game. Would not surprise me if, again, a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter and one team is looking to drive down the field for the winning score.
So who enjoys Thanksgiving dinner more, Middletown North or Middletown South fans?
It's funny, I was going over this one in my head actually earlier today. I'm thinking, who am I going to pick in this one? And I still don't know. Middletown North didn't make the playoffs. The best team in the Shore Conference to not make the playoffs, clearly. One of the better teams around the state to not make the playoffs, in my opinion, just based on who they played and the division that they were in. But they've been stinging from not making the postseason. They won their consolation game over Heightstown. Middletown South was able to get into the playoffs. We got shut out by Long Branch 20-0. Middletown's offense has been very good all year. Its defense has been okay. Middletown South's defense has played much better second half of the season, but the offense has really struggled for the Eagles. So who knows in this one? I'm thinking the defense of Middletown South probably has a better chance to win out. I could see them in the final game for a lot of those seniors like Jay Krellin, who were very instrumental to that defense, kind of rising up, maybe win a low-scoring game. But that's another intriguing game. I mean, we're pretty even in our picks coming up.
Oh, we are three-way tie for the lead.
These Thanksgiving games are probably going to end up decided. So, I don't know. That one really can go either way.
Who we do like in these and the other Thanksgiving Day and Eve games, well, check out the Atlantic Physical Therapy Center football picks on shoresportsnetwork.com. For Bob Batters, I'm Kevin Williams. Have a very happy Thanksgiving, and we'll be back one more time. They're playing these big games in early December. Follow us all at shoresportsnetwork.com.